Well, I'm just back from my local woodworking store. My order came in. I bought a brand new bandsaw blade, carbide tipped. It's supposed to make short work of resawing. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be tackling those drawer fronts. And all those drawer fronts need to be resawn. We're going to be doing that amongst other things. But nothing happens till you get started. I'll see you inside. I'm Roby Price, and welcome to my garage workshop. In this series, we're building a Spalted Pecan dresser. A top for the box. Well, I just got back from the bandsaw, and this is my first pass at resawing the spalted wood. And I've got a marvelous book match here. And in addition to that, I don't think I have too much cleanup. I can probably hit this starting at 120, taking it all the way up to 220. This surface is actually extremely smooth, and part of that is the new blade on my bandsaw. It's got carbide teeth, and boy, does it make a cut. But the problem I've got is it is about as warped as a dog's hind leg. So I've got some problems there. And the first steps I'll do is take it to a cross-cut sled. I've got to take this edge off here. It's checked. And if you've got checking, you've got warping as well. So I am going to have to take part of this off. It's a shame because, you know, that's where a lot of the beauty is right here. I'll try to minimize it, but I've got to get past that, which may be about to right here, it looks like. And then I've got a length here because if you look at the drawer, I really don't need all this material. So if I come back to here, that's about where it ends. And that's good because I kind of want to get to there anyway. So I'll cut a little bit big. And the other thing is, you see, this is going to conform to this. This wood is as hard and stout as it can be. And this, being spalted, has been under a little bit of, it's rotten wood. So I think we can probably get him to square up. The other thing we can do, and I've heard of this before, I've never done it, never had a need to, is I can go out and put it in the grass. And so why? Well, the grass is moist. So you get this side right here, which is cupped. You put a little bit of moisture on it, everything expands, which expands it out. Additionally, the sun is on this surface. It pulls the moisture out, so it contracts. I am going to trim this way to length first. And then I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to get a width that suits me as well before I do anything. And then see how much pressure do I need to conform this into shape. If it's still a mess, then maybe. I suspect it's not going to be a problem. But let me get on the crosscut sled and let me get this to shape. And when we get to the other drawers, I will show you the rig on the bandsaw. I have a fence right here, and this fence is set to 90 degrees to the table. It's clamped down in the back. That keeps it from moving. Set about a little under 3/8 away from the blade. We only need a quarter. We'll probably end up being a little bit bigger than that, and that's not an issue. I have it set perfectly with actually a couple of washers just under the tails over there, so that's how I adjusted it, but it worked just fine. More importantly than this fence being square with the table, the blade is square with the table as well, and they both need to be square, or they both need to be off the right amount. So there you have that. I've got a roller stand over there so that when my piece gets farther to the edge, I don't have to worry about controlling it too much. I also have this magnetic, I guess I'm going to call it it's not a feather board, but it's a roller board. And we will put that there. And when I get my piece up here, I'll actually ooze it in and get it such that it will hold on tight. All you have to do is turn these magnets That stays pretty steady. I'm impressed with that. So after we get things cut, we'll move over to the drum sander, get it smoothed out, and take it all down to a uniform width. I'm under no illusions that every one of these boards is going to come out the same width. We're going to have to take it to the drum sander to do the final dimension to make sure everything is uniform. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. That carbide tip blade is good, but nothing's that good. We've ramped the speed up a little bit here. It's getting tight in here. Got a lot of pieces. We finished up on the drum sander and we've gotten all our drawer faces completed. I decided to cut up another board. I didn't like the fact that we would have 3 boards on one material and 1 board matching. It just didn't make sense to me. I didn't feel like it would look right. So we cut up 1 more of the spalted boards for a drawer front. All of them will be different with the exception of the 2 top drawer fronts, and I have these right here, and they will look like that side by side. I think that's going to look great. I think it's going to look really good. So there's that. Now what I want to do here, this is for the top, and these are wide boards. We will rip these down the middle, reassemble them again to give that look of one single board that we've been working on. We did that for all the drawer boxes. And I think it turned out well. So I've got this one and this one going to rip. This one right here, a lot of character in that. Problem with him is he's a little bowed. And I have put him out in the grass a couple of times, and he does straighten out, but only for a little while. So I think we'll keep doing that, and maybe eventually it'll find itself straight. But for right now, we're going to dimension these boards up and get them put back together again, so that we can get the top done, get it on the case, and get the whole thing to the corner of the shop to give me a little bit more room to work. Last thing, while we're ripping these and dimensioning these, we're going to take this board right here. This is spalted. This particular side didn't have a lot of character. This is the other side of this right here. This is why I bought this one. We're going to take that, cut him up, laminate him, and use him for the knobs. And this is good, thick, heavy material, which is perfect for knobs, and I think it'll look really good. So that's the plan. You've seen me dimension lumber before. It's going to be a lot of the same thing, but hopefully by the time I finish this top and get him situated, we'll start to make some more room in this shop. It is much easier to joint a cup than it is a bow. And what you're seeing here is that cup is dropping down and dropping below the level of the back table. And that's not a big deal. Just pull back and do it again. Usually you'll go through. It'll take a couple of passes to get that full cup out of that board. But again, I want a straight edge to push against that fence. I'll take that straight edge and push it up against the fence. That'll make it smoother and safer. We're going to joint the flat face, a narrow, thin pass, but we're going to start with the board, the cupped side. As I said, it's easier to do a cupped face than it is a bowed face. We'll focus on the ends of the board, taking a little bit off each end. Apply pressure only at the ends and not in the middle. When the board relaxes, you want it to be flat. Eventually, you'll be taking out material all along the board. Although the ends will be thinner, the whole board will be flat. Do not apply pressure in the middle. Doing so will only remove material from an area that you want to preserve. It is the middle of a cupped board that finally flattens out last. The reverse is true with the planer. It's the middle that will flatten out first. My face is flat, and that's what will go against the bottom bed. Notice that the ends are considerably thinner than the middle. That's why that top piece flattens out first. Getting the correct level of the board can be a little bit of a guessing game depending upon how bowed it was. It might not go all the way through. It might pinch about halfway through. In this case, I got a little lucky. But I'm not taking off a whole lot of material on the first pass either. You can just see it. I've taken off just a little bit here, there, and a little bit there. Eventually the whole board will get synced down to the level of the ends, and that's when you know you're done. Well, I've been very frugal, and I did have enough spalted material to complete the top. Every piece has a little bit of character on it. And previously I had a board over here. It had character, but not much spalt, mostly knots. And I didn't care for it because the color match wasn't real good. There's some parts of this that I don't care for too. I don't particularly care for this line, but let's face it, no tree around is this wide. So it's understood we're going to have a couple of boards, and we are going after character here. I had a board over here, mostly knots. I got rid of it. I put this one back on. This is the last one. So I don't have any more material after this that is usable for any other pieces. Fortunately, this is the last piece I needed, so it worked out pretty well. I have made all my marks here, so I'm going to take it over to the drum sander and we'll get it leveled out, flip it over, and level it back again. After that, we'll glue it to the top skirt and then trim this to square. After it's glued to the top skirt, we'll fit it, we'll drill the holes for mounting, and we will mount it, but we'll take it back off again. I want to finish this as a separate piece. And that's why having this bottom skirt, I mean, this comes right off. The ability to finish these pieces separately just makes it so much easier. So, to the drum sander. Well, leveling out the top does take some time. I'll speed it up here for you so you don't get too bored with it. I'm up here looking to see how things fit, and I got my top skirt in place, looking at this, and the fit is really honestly quite good. I'm getting ready to put the top on, and there's a couple of things you need to do to make sure that works right. First of all is to make sure that your top skirt fits perfectly. Second of all, you need to make sure that you've got the fasteners set at appropriate depth. Believe it or not, you can come through. And that's never a good thing. I've also marked the ends of these pieces, and I'll take it over to the table saw to make sure that we can cut the ends off at appropriate length. So these are marked right here, and those will get clipped off. I've got 4 screws back here. Each hole is V-shaped, so the screw can move back and forth to accommodate for its expansion. These are straight in, and they don't need to expand. When I finally do finished assembly, I will place the top here, and I will glue this edge. That edge over there will float free. Finally, I'll take some of my scraps over here and use these as support blocks, so when those screws go down, I don't pull that top in. It's dead flat coming off of the drum sander, and any reflection of light you get on this, if it's not dead flat again, a raking light will show that. So I want to make sure that I have adequate support here, both to keep it from bowing, for the screw will hold it down, but I don't want to pull it down too far to create what's called a divot. So first step, let's get those cut to length. Next, let's get our table up here with the appropriate reveal around the edges. We'll glue this in place and let him sit for a while. After we'll take it all apart again. Then we go to the router table to put the bead on the edge, and that'll finish the top. Then we'll take it off again, because I want to place the finish on this piece separately. I'll get a better finish if I do that. So let's go to the table saw and get this thing trimmed back. Well, as I said, we're over here at the table saw, and things are never perfect. They just aren't. So I've got a mark here and a mark there, and that's what I'll cut to. I won't cut this mark based on that, and I won't cut that based on this. We'll go ahead and do them each individually. And I think we'll get better results that way. Again, I'm tucked up under here, and lighting is interesting at best with all the shadows. I have about, I don't know, about that much board right here that I'm going to glue, and I'll turn the corner up to this edge. This is going to get a lot of uplift. I am a little bit concerned in the back, but that's why we got the screw back there, is to hold it in place. So what I will do is I will take this board and I will lay a bead of glue down right here, bringing forward. Make sure I have a minimum of 1/8 right there clearance. And when I come back to the router table, I will use a bearing bit to trim off that edge to give myself just a little bit of a reveal. I've got pipe clamps set up because I will use these on top to keep the rubber from doing something to this material. And I will glue this in place and get a good clamp on it. And I'll get a good clamp right here. I can do that with regular f-stop clamps. So just some glue in place. Spread it around a little bit. And I'll do that. I do not want glue to come out over this edge, simply because it's such a pain to clean up. Scrap will do. All right, there's one. A little bit bigger than I typically do, but I had to go to the bin to get it. And also, I don't want any glue to drip over that edge yet. Just spread it out a little bit, not a whole lot. Pressure will do the rest. Okay. All right, I'm going to walk around with my tri-square and make sure I've got the appropriate reveal. This looks good over here. Yeah, that's tight. This was the edge that I cut first, and that's the one I wanted to really keep. This edge goes with the grain. I'm not as worried about him. This edge over here didn't, it's the one that I let run a little bit long, so I'm not worried about that. It's going to be long. That's all there is to it. There we are. Double check, because sometimes when you move him, he creeps back on this corner. We're still good. All right. There we go. Just a little bit. Very nice. Not anyway. Unfortunately, it's not a divot. That's good. Check one more time. There, good. All right. Get some more lamps up in the middle. Yeah, this is exactly what I didn't want to have happen. It's happening on both sides. Looks like I was a little bit more liberal with my glue than I should have been. No. Well, that's why that didn't go well. My piece in the back has had a little time to glue up. I think I gave it about an hour. That's enough to tack up. Plus, I've got these little brads in there holding them in place. So we're good to go here. I have to make a reveal around the edge here right at 1/8 of an inch. That's what I want. And I want it to be even against this molding. This molding fits tight to the case, so, you know, everything one after another. So I'm going to come back to my pattern making fence right here. I got it set up right now for a 1/8 reveal. And I'm going to test it out against this piece right here. When I finish, this is going to be cut flush. And that's because it's the back. But this will give me a good ability to figure out exactly how much room I have here so I can adjust accordingly. So we'll give it a try out here first. I'm over here at the router table setting up my fence. I have got a bearing bit that I'm going to be using here. It's got a nice OG pattern with a break. It's going to look great. And you might ask why I didn't just take a router and go around the top. Well, partly is because of those ends. If I hadn't taken that edge off when I did, I might have done that, because then I could have cut it off later. But we're not there. It's cut off now. So this fence will help protect me from digging in, and that's fine. Additionally, this piece is a little thinner, so I want that bearing to actually be up above this so that I can get the full advantage of the bit. And that's why the fence is so critical in this regard. I have my dust collection set up top and bottom. Finally, you'll notice I've got about this much router table, but my piece hadn't fallen over. I've got my auxiliary support set up on the jointer to keep things nice and level and square. So we will make end cuts first, and on the very last, or some of the last end cuts, we will actually put another piece here to keep the router from blowing out the end. It's never good. We always make this front piece last because that's the one that you use to clean up all the problems. So a little bit more setup here and we'll get started. Well, I'm seated in front of this thing. I kind of wanted to give you a look-see at it. The edge turned out really nice. I'm very pleased. And I had no blowouts, so that's always good. But now it's time to sand it, and I will be starting with 120, going to 150, and then 220. And you know, if you don't like sanding, don't get into woodworking because there's a lot of it. So I'll just move through the grains, get this completed, and as soon as the sanding is done, I've already sanded the perimeter, at least the what I call the top skirt. That's done. So that'll be about it. I'll do a little light sanding on this edge, but I'm going to try to stay as far away from these corners as I can because they came out so nice. I don't want to, I'll knock a little bit of it off just before finish, but I'm trying to preserve every bit of it I can. They're very sharp, very crisp, and I want to keep them that way. So, sand the top down, and this is fresh off the drum sander, so it is a little rough at 100 grit, and it's going to take some time to get it down. But we got the tools, and I got time.